Off this best of 5 series. Just a heads up, this one was played just a little bit early on. Obviously kind of late out in Korea, and we knew this one was going to be pretty late, so this one has been played just a little bit earlier on in the day. And we do have the bottom left, our red Zerg player, RagnaroK. In the top right from Team Liquid, this is going to be Kelazhur. Game 1. Let's see what's going to happen. Already a pull first from RagnaroK. See what goes on from here. Obviously, RagnaroK could get aggressive off the back of a pull first, but there's also that world in which you could... There's also that world in which you can just do this because you're afraid of maybe being proxied or something a little bit crazy like that early on. So definitely some potential. There is a Reaper on the way up. Get this one started. Submarine on the way out. We have the Reaper coming across. Sorry, guys, just checking up on something and getting something fixed up quickly. Sorry about that. As the Reaper comes through. It's going to get denied, obviously. And what is kind of annoying is these few lings have snuck around that Reaper. So the Reaper not going back, but there is going to be a second Marine right now. And that's going to go and... allow this to be a pretty simple defense back at home, so I guess this wasn't really all so bad. So the Marines will defend this. And yeah, these Lings get turned around. Reaper's still trying to poke in. Actually does get itself a Ling kill as well, the Reaper, so Reaper ain't doing all so badly just yet. That down to the bottom and just going to be seeing the Queen taking a few steps forward. The drone moves out to go take the third base as well. Comes back around. Hatcher takes a little bit more damage. Just going to be seeing the Reaper hopping up towards the high ground. And it has all been about this Reaper on the map so far. Obviously, a couple of Lings that got shut down trying to attack. Oh, that drone nail! He doesn't become a Spore Crawler, though. That could have become a little bit costly there. As I see the Reaper now will make its way out of here. Getting out alive. So far, so good still for Reaper. Hellion gets into the natural, looking for just a drone kill here. As we'll be able to find one, but yeah, kind of interesting just giving up the one Hellion for a drone. Again, I feel like Kelazhur is almost scouting a lot just to try and see just exactly what's happening, I suppose. More shots coming through. As do you have our units just sitting back then. Got a couple of Marines here, going to start pinging away at this Overlord. It's going to take some damage. Viking will be popping out shortly. Work our way through this as well. As 3 Marines will kill the Ovi, and RagnaroK ends up supply blocked for a minor amount of time. Nothing really worth comment on too heavily. Once the Reaper come back through, just going to be seeing the Queen sat here quite nicely. A couple of extra acts on the way out as well. Just bringing all of this up for the moment as we get this set to go. And yeah, a little bit of an early game establishment for the moment here out of Kelazhur. As he will just sit middle of the map and wait around. The Vikings still trying to find, another Overlord to poke at. Be surprised if this one went down. Right, we've got ourselves a Queen that's on its way over, and that Ovi is gonna be dead, actually. Wow, it is gonna die, so I kind of assumed there might be a transfuse available to somewhere, but I guess all those Queens are too far forward, so yeah, actually nice play from Kelazhur. Loops around, gets himself a kill. Not bad at all. Stimpack is already starting up on this barracks as the factory moves across for a tech lab. Reactor builds on the starport. There is the 4th hatchery down on the bottom side. Oh, that is going to be the end of the Viking, though. So the Viking getting shot at the sky, at least. And that was a Liberator to try and take its place in terms of dealing some damage. And the Hellions get rid of a couple of tumors, so that's also pretty neat. Let's see what the Lib can do into the main. Going to siege on top of his Spore, though. Kelazhur notices it last second and is able to get a re-siege here. Unfortunately, the Queen is already relocating. We'll get a drone. Spores relocated too. And that will be the Liberator. At least getting out alive, but not really finding too much. RagnaroK quick to jump on these Hellions over here. At least try to. He gets one of the Hellions, so nothing too crazy. Those Hellions will survive. But now the Lings are back again. Oh, playing some dangerous games already at the start of this one. Some very dangerous games. Hellions and the Reaper pulling back. Going to join up with the rest of the Marines then. And this is going to be Kelazhur's maybe a bit of a push. He's still waiting on medevacs. I wouldn't really want to see him pushing too much until combat in 1-1. Just feels like there's too much that can go wrong too quickly if you try and do that. So, something to be cautious of perhaps as Hellions maybe going to get caught this time. RagnaroK's been trying to get these for a while and will clean them all up. Big win. Obviously, if those Hellions are around when you push with the Marines, there's just so much more you can do. So, yeah, a bit of a shame to lose them just like that, of course. A little sad. Means we'll come and be joined by the medevacs. Hey, they might get some links here in return, though. Looks as though RagnaroK might just move commandos straight through there, but doesn't quite happen. We do see a few of the links still taking just a bit of damage. Again, nothing too crazy overall. Medevacs are just going to lift up and get out of there for the moment. Now the upgrade's about to complete from RagnaroK too, so getting those completed, Hydro Den will finish up as well. That one Baneling going to make its way forward also. RagnaroK has obviously been slowed down a little bit on his initial creep spreads kind of escalation, just because there has been good map control from Kelazhur. He has denied a good few creep tumors. This is obviously where Kelazhur is really going to make another attempt at that. With these medevacs on the map in 2 different places, there really is a good chance for him to really keep this counter from ever really getting too crazy. That creep spread can really be denied on multiple sides, but this is where RagnaroK also just then has to defend on multiple sides, and he'll also be tested a little bit on replacing those units a little bit as well, right? So a few different things going on as we come on by with these Marines getting rid of a few more creep tumors. Gonna find an Overlord as well, and just gonna lift up now once we escape out of there. Rest of these Marines hanging around still. We're just going to be seeing our Marines, our tanks, all coming around to the left. Just going to be seeing the Ling Hydra. Just going to come through and once again deny these medevacs from doing too much of anything. Hydra goes back down to the bottom right side. Marines, tanks, the Liberator all going to press forward, and we are going to see a tank siege. Going to start getting some shells out onto these Queens. So Queen's taking some pretty hefty damage straight away. That's actually a good position for Kelazhur, and RagnaroK not being ready for this. He is going to counterattack, but there's a few units back at home. Kelazhur might not have too many issues dealing with that, honestly. As Lings get in, SCV start to take some damage. Marines at least doing a good job of clearing up where they can. Continue down this right side, and these Banes are going to continue forward as well. Crashing into a few of these Marines, though. Just getting into a few of those. Still just seeing the Hydra Den coming online with the Groove of Spines. The Lings and the Hydras around the top, ready to collapse in on this army, perhaps. Let's see if he can clean this out. You really need to fight this before the reinforcements get here, because then Kelazhur can maybe sandwich the sandwich. And let's see. We're going to be seeing our Marines having to kite backwards to have to just lift and give up the tanks and the Lib. He just didn't get his reinforcements there quite in time. It was well timed, you could say, on the side of RagnaroK. He did it just before Kelazhur had the reinforcements that maybe would have swung things in his favor a little bit more heavily. It was also just before 2-2 kicked in. Now we do have a little timing here where 2-2 is available for Kelazhur and not for RagnaroK. So that is now the possibility to maybe get something done. As we stim on in, this hatchery might be in some trouble. Let's stand out here a little bit. The Hydra Den took some shots as well. Didn't die, though. There's only a couple of Banelings, but if they do connect, they can be deadly. We kind of deal with the Banelings pretty well so far. There's one more underneath the Medivacs right now. That's being killed. These units just keep on streaming in, off creep, in towards this Marine tank force. Kelazhur honestly gets a pretty darn good fight out of it. Not sure if he's got enough to go chase down Hydras or anything, but overall pretty freaking decent considering what we were heading in for there initially. Wow, I mean, just really made sure the Banelings did not connect, and obviously them coming in single file for a while 100% helped him out as well, putting him in the right direction in the tail end of that. Let's attack back across here, and again, RagnaroK's been pretty consistent trying to set up those run-bys. As our Marines will sit here, and the Banelings will start to drop. A few of them continue to go down. One more Baneling gets targeted. These Lings and these Hydras still taking shots. This hatchery now going to be taking some hits as well. Since the rest of the Ling Hydra are going to be coming through. And that is going to be a Brood Ling shot down. And that, my friends, is pretty much going to end this one, I think. RagnaroK is going to be in a tough spot from here on out. I might not end this one, maybe being a little bit extreme with my wording here, but it definitely puts RagnaroK on the back foot to the point where I'm not really feeling great for him. I mean, run-bys like this, though, I mean, that's always going to be where the potential is. We lose a Medivac escaping away, too. Okay, run-bys like this are absolutely going to change games. 70, okay. Yep, I was way too strong with my wording. 20 SCVs just died. We weren't even done. And he kills depots as well. I mean, Kelazhur's still got to push across the map with an army lead, which, considering there's Lings over here, he might be able to do something with. He gets rid of the first lurker. He'll get rid of the second. That's really important because, obviously, he does not want the lurker count to get out of control before he has his ghosts out. He doesn't have ghosts just yet. They are still on the way, so... Okay, guys. This game is absolutely still going to be a whole thing. There's no Banelings, though. It's really just relying on getting the lurkers out. That's the new issue, perhaps, from RagnaroK. But for now, this is good enough to force a lift up, and I guess it's just a drop into the main base, right? Obvious to keep the pressure up. Makes a lot of sense. Pressuring is generally a good thing to be doing in these scenarios. So, yeah, doing more of that. Absolutely a fan of it. Lings and the Hydras keep on coming over, and we do clean this up. We push this back. In fact, most of the Marines died. Kelazhur with some money to spend, but also a new army already rolling down the right side of the map. If this can get in position, maybe there really is still some potential to get some big damage done. And remember that this is the 4th base right now, so if you lose this, that's a pretty big deal. I'm terrified for the fact there's just so many Marines, right? And there's no Banelings. Or very few Banelings, so Kelazhur is actually in a pretty great spot to just kind of fight with what he's got versus what his opponent has. And these tanks get a lot of damage done. And that is actually going to be GG out from RagnaroK. He's going to give this one up, and Kelazhur will take the first game of this best-of-5 series. Just a little bit too much pressure for RagnaroK. Bottom left-hand side will find himself down a game. This is the red Zerg player. Is RagnaroK. Taking on to the top right, yellow Terran, Kelazhur. Yeah, cool stuff from Kelazhur, and now we get Waterfall for map 2, so kind of an interesting couple maps to start out with. Clearly, we're not too bothered here as the Zerg play about playing some Terra maps in a row. Just happy to kind of get that going, it would seem. So yeah, very cool little startup at the very least. See how we get on with this map 2. As it is going to be CC first. This build has been all over the place lately. Terrans are just saying, oh, we really can do this. Huh? This is something we really can get away with as well. And yeah, they are somewhat making the most of it, to be honest. Somewhat making the most of it, for sure. Oh, CC coming online. Overlord of RagnaroK heading to the upper right. So get this up and ready and to go. Overlord is going to journey on forward. It's going to be the 2 racks variation following up from this. So we saw a little bit of this from Spirit earlier on, if you guys were watching that. Spirit played a lot of CC first 2-1-1 builds and pulling on some good pressure and just kind of, kind of balling out from that basically. So you'll see he does SCV scout, so he is aware that's a hatchery first. Instant roach run from RagnaroK. I mean, he sees the time of this rack / positioning of it, so he says, okay, CC first, let's instantly roach roar. And if I can get into roaches here, pretty good chance I can get a lot done and just get a W, right? So yeah, don't mind it all from RagnaroK. He bases this decision off of scouting information he's putting out for himself. So yeah, so far liking it a lot. Roach run's gonna finish. Gonna be 7 roaches instantly. Probably go straight to 8 even in these early stages. There's 5 of those roaches coming up. 6. I guess he's just lava stuff, huh? 7. Nice. I mean, now he can even make 9 if he wants to. The lava pops. He's going to make an overload, actually, making sure he stays away from supply block. It's going to be the good old 7 roach rush. Man, one of the good old days of just roach rushing like this. It's fun, isn't it? Absolutely. Couple of roaches making their way across then. I mean, this is the problem. Kelazhur, he scouted with the SCV, but he has no idea about the roach attack that's on his way, right? That first scout was good, but he's had no follow-up scout to really confirm what's going on. And that is kind of the problem, is Marines will now realize they're in some trouble. The good news, there's a decent amount of Marines, so maybe they can actually do kind of okay with this. Maybe they can actually find something. And it's just going to be seeing the roaches and the Ravager picking a way through that depot. Going to kill that off. SCV goes down. And just going to be seeing now picking our way through the Orbital Command as well. 1 roach going down. Just going to drop another corrosive violin. A couple of these Marines still being picked away at. Roaches and the Ravager just going to hit their base. In the end, honestly, 4 SCVs, bit of a slowdown. Really isn't that bad for Kelazhur, right? Doesn't lose all that much. Could be a whole bunch worse, as we do see SCV is going to move across. I'm just going to drop a depot down for the moment. Roaches, Ravagers continue now down the bottom. 3rd hatchery will begin. Combat shield starting up on the side of Kelazhur. Factory in place. And well, now we see actually more Ling Ravager. I mean, Ling Speed's about to be done. I guess this is part of the initial defense, really. He knows Stim is going to be done. He's seen what the build is. He begins to prep against this. No 3rd CC just yet as well. That's something that's obviously a bit different because the 3rd CC of Spirit was very quick to land. Put that down at like 345. So this is a very different setup from him, as I was just comparing to what we saw earlier as well, right? The Marines relocating just a little bit here and just going to be pulling to the left side with the medevacs coming around as a bit of support. Get rid of a Ling, just going to stem up. A Queen already, going to go down already. Now we've got a couple drones going down. These Zerglings, again, a bit of a wrap around here. We do drop into the main base where we can get rid of some creep spread and, well, some drones as well. My God, it's pretty smooth with his unit movement today. Love this little drop. Just a few drones, but damage just adds up, right? It's free to do. You've already got these units out over here. They're already in this position. So why not make the most of that? That's exactly what happens. There's the double Evo chamber going down. And another medevac coming across to support. Doesn't bring a tank across, though. Just going to be Marines and an extra medevac for the moment. So nothing too crazy there. 8 roaches continue to build. Evo chambers also in production. Marines. Medevac's going to come down to the bottom just a little bit. Just going to get a couple of consumers here. We are going to start getting some drones again. RagnaroK just keeps losing workers straight away, it feels like. Press forward a little bit, grab a Queen. The Ling's trying to get the wrap around here. Medevacs do lift, and they will leave back up to the top side through the center for the moment. Just pulling away from this and Gonna go relocate themselves for now. Rest of these Marines just gonna unload back out. 1-1 still coming through. Roach speed coming up. Carapace coming up. All of that continuing in as our orbital command lands onto the third location as well. And here comes Kelazhur's army. Marines and medevacs down to the south. Once more, just going to start off by fighting a couple creep tumors. Always nice. Marines go back to the left. Our 1-1 upgrades are still coming through from Kelazhur. They are ahead of the 1-1 Roach upgrades. I mean, if you're going to try and play Roaches, I mean, it's obviously not like a 1-1 Roach timer. We're building a Baneling Nest. There is a future investment here from RagnaroK. Definitely kind of a plan as to where things are going to go a bit further down the line. As medevacs load up, and just going to see them go into the bottom right. So now a little bit of a split. Kelazhur playing two different directions at once. Let's see how well RagnaroK continues to try and defend across a couple different positions on the map here. We're kind of thinking about maybe doing something over here as they decide not to. Don't see the chance. These units get turned around as well. Again, so far the defense turns out to be pretty darn okay. Pretty reasonable. Tanks do be sieging, and just going to have our Marines and medevacs join back over on that right side. Medevac on the left gets set up again. With Bane Speed finishing up, I'm expecting to see melee upgrades beyond this missiles, of course, and there it is starting straight away. RagnaroK not skipping a beat there. So because it's melee, actually, you can start and queue it up even behind the missiles. So if you kind of check on it, it's like 10 seconds ago. You don't have to come back in 10 seconds. You can just queue up the melee upgrade already, and it's just ready to start. Obviously, you can't do that missiles into missiles because you need +1 to start +2, and +1 isn't done until the upgrade's finished, right? So you did see that melee upgrade start instantly. Like I say, that makes sense. Definitely starting to play more towards these Banes and Lings, I'd suppose, than further Roach Ravager. Obviously, Roach Ravager is a decent core to support, but Ling Bane's definitely going to become better and more effective as time passes by. And with the Hive already on the way up, we might even just see an Ultraless Cavern, so we end up playing kind of a Ling Bane Ultra kind of comp. Ultras do provide a pretty good stepping stone into the later stages of the game as, this is interesting because RagnaroK might get a bit of a jump on Kelazhur, but Kelazhur has an army that I feel like could have surrounded. You know, if he, I mean, obviously he's just got so many tanks out of position. If he just had this army set up over here and he had a few units to just grab a few Banelings, he could have done very well there. And instead, it feels like it's going to go unpunished. RagnaroK is going to get a few SCVs and then is going to get out with the majority of his units. So should be just pretty content with that for now, at least. Tank's going to hold out over here. Is just going to be seeing our units rolling on in. These Marines having to split up. The Bane's still crashing through. And that's a lot of damage done. Kelazhur's army suddenly got himself a bit caught up, got a bit too aggressive, and suddenly Kelazhur is in a world of trouble here in this game number 2, because all of a sudden it's going to open the doorway for RagnaroK to get some damage on the counterattack. Right side base, that mineral line is completely open to attacks. That's obviously not ideal, and 7 SCVs going down. Yeah, I mean, at the same time, maybe could have struck here with a few more units, and I mean, a few Banes up there would have been great in this moment, because Kelazhur was super pushed back. Obviously, RagnaroK didn't rebuild Banes in this time, as we do see Vipers, and it is the Ultra Cavern on the way as well, so you know, obviously Vipers make sense. We're playing tanks, so Blinding Clouds or Ducks are really good counters to those. The Ultra Cavern, I do think, is just the Hive tech that makes the most sense. In this scenario, you're not really going to get up to Broodlords or anything, right? You're not really on Lurkers or set up to go into Lurkers. So, yeah, RagnaroK put himself in a great position. It's going to be seeing our units here still hanging around for RagnaroK on the left-hand side, and as he gets back up to maxing out, I mean, honestly, at this point, I feel like he doesn't even want to max because he wants to build a couple Ultras as well, because he's got a little bit of money to go before being able to do that, so I guess it still is on the board in terms of things he can get done here. Let's see if he returned back to this side. RagnaroK back around the left side as well. It's going to be seeing a couple of Lings getting picked off and getting ready to go dart on forward. Here we go. First, Blind Cloud hits the Planetary Fortress. Wouldn't mind if Blind Cloud, on the group of Marines, just make it so they derp around a lot. These Banes, I love the idea of the flank, but these tanks are actually, while being left behind, actually ended up in a good place. They got so much covering fire on the incoming Banelings. We still killed 15 SCVs in the Planetary Fortress, but it's actually kind of funny because if those tanks weren't left behind, the Banes would have got much closer to the Marines, and then that surrounding factor that RagnaroK was really going for would have actually worked better. So yeah, Kelazhur's tanks left on that side meant they weren't there in the top to help out the main fight, but they did help out a lot from the flanking units that were perhaps going to get a lot done otherwise. I was going to say, I mean, more Blinding Clouds. I'd love to just see a Parasitic Bomb on some of these medevacs as well. I mean, they're just all clumped up. Just force them to split away a little bit. A couple of them are low HP at least, or at least one is low. Actually, no, it's not low HP. I think that was the tank HP bar I saw on the medevacs. My bad. But we'd just love to see, I mean, just force the medevacs to split up, just another spell cast, and slowly but surely start chipping away at those as well, which eventually killing off medevacs is going to be very useful, as RagnaroK kind of chases in a bit haphazardly with these Ultralisks. Probably doesn't matter too much as he continues to just move on forward. These Marines are going to try and get out of here. Looks pretty good. The Ultras keep coming by, and they're going to get it all the way across as that's going to go on top of this tank as well, so it's going to be saying goodbye to that. Both the Ultras now die, and now these Ravagers will be in some trouble. Kelazhur turn this around. A new Ultra showing up. Will chomp straight through the siege tank there. Kelazhur trying to get to Liberators. Doesn't really have the cash to get to Ghost, but Liberators can be a good stepping stone in terms of getting to where you need to be against Ultras. Liberators can hold off some of the initial Ultras attacks, and then once you've held off some of the initial Ultras attacks, you can really do, maybe have the time to get into the Ghost and the other tech you might need from there on out. Lib Siege. Nice hatchery. Low HP. Just going to be seeing the extra Lings and Banes still producing. As Kelazhur falls back to the upper right side. A few units around the left. The Lings, the Banes, the Ultras. Send up here as well. As you see, this hatchery will fall. Kelazhur at least getting a snipe, but there's so many other bases of RagnaroK. I don't think he's going to be too upset about losing one base here. The Spore will divert the medevac straight away back the other way, so medevac's already going to end up going elsewhere. Now going after another medevac. Yikes. That's really bad. That's just 20 supply dead when it really didn't need to be. Meanwhile, we go punching up this ramp. And Liberators might buy you a bit of time, but yeah, once the bio lifts up, we're just going to go after the SCVs here, and that's going to be a bit of a worker massacre as well. There's a lot of SCVs left on this mineral line, so plus the Planetary Fortress died, or the Orbital Command died, didn't even lift off. This Ultra continues to chomp. Chompy boys are just chewing through this game, guys. Ultra does not die. More SCVs to die here. Oh, nope. Reinforcements get here. But again, RagnaroK, I mean, he spends a lot on these attacks. Resources lost is actually not as bad as I thought it was going to be. It's actually pretty reasonable for RagnaroK, considering he's also mining more with 90 drones. I feel like he should actually, with that resources lost tab only being like a 5k difference, I really feel like RagnaroK should be winning this game much harder. But Kelazhur kind of hanging on in there for now. More Ultras coming up again. We are starting to see the first Ghosts in production, so maybe Kelazhur is holding on to some kind of realistic hope here that that is something we can get to. StarCraft has been pretty heavily favored for RagnaroK. I guess losing that left side base had a bit of an impact on his worker lead. Widow Mine shot there. The friendly fire is huge. Parasitic Bomb helping to take down some of the medevacs as another Widow Mine just goes in towards the Bioforce. Again, just feels, I mean, honestly, we're not going in with any Banelings anymore, and it feels like that's very much so a move which is like, hey, I just have enough to overwhelm you and win. Might be true, but it obviously makes it a lot messier as well, because a few Banelings would force these units to split and not just stand and fight in a clumped up position where they can trade well against the Lings at least. I think the medevac's running out of energy as well. Going to help to get the GG out of Kelazhur, and that is RagnaroK tying this series 1-1. Extended break, guys. Ali was just being a little bit slow. And didn't even want anything. She just wanted to play, which now I feel bad for. So, she just wanted to play. We'll have to play with her a bit tonight. diving game. Get this going. Top right hand side, red Zerg player. It is going to be RagnaroK. Tying this game up, or the series up 1-1. As he takes on Team Liquid's Yellow Terran. The bottom left hand corner, Kelazhur. Come on, guys. We are going to see some proxy action here for game number 3 to the right side. Proxy 2 racks and even a third SCV on its way. So proxy 3 racks seemingly going to be the setup right now as we get that up and ready to go. Rack's going to get placed in position over here. That's actually a rough one to spot as well because obviously this third rack is so far away from the other two. Figuring out that it is actually 3 racks is going to be very tough to do, no? I mean, yeah, that's going to be really difficult, so not ideal. Pool in the main base. Hatcher going down. There's obviously no pool first, something that RagnaroK does sometimes bring out as well. This guy's, oh, did Overlord see this? Moved a little bit. SCVs are going to go in together now, and let's see what Kelazhur can get done as the Overlord going to start taking a little bit of damage here. This first Marine putting some hits on it. Drones pulled to try and deny the bunker. Only 3 drones. Doesn't seem like a lot. We're going to take a lot of damage on one straight away. Here comes the rest of the drones. Got 2 Marines here now. We'll obviously want to run backwards. The more Marines you have here, the better. Uh-oh. That first Marine is going to get surrounded, no? In fact, all these Marines might get surrounded. 3 workers going down. We're going to get 4, 5. Yeah, I mean, you're starting to get quite a few SC drone kills out of this. As you do obviously now have the bunker on the high ground denied, though, so that won't go anywhere. But 7 workers, a lot of lost mining time, and that's kind of awkward. This barracks, this Marine actually went the long way around there, like went to the left. I'm not sure how it was rallied initially, but it came in from the other side. I wonder if that would have changed anything. Probably not. Marines continue around, and the Lings get back up to the high ground as the SCVs will pull. So big SCV pull. RagnaroK sees it. Preparation time. He's lost 7 drones, so being on 16, 17, he definitely built a few extra. Spinecrawler starts now. It's going to be a long build time, though. 6 seconds, 30 to go. STV's already arriving. Marine pops out here. Probably can just kite and kill off these Lings, or at least kill off one. Continues to kite as the other Marines and the SCVs move forward. Up the ramp they go. Yeah, but this is the moment to watch as we do have the drones pulling in. They're going to get on top of the Marines, perhaps. The SCVs not really helping at all. The SCVs are all over the place. These Marines are slipping out of the surround, though. The Lings are all dead. Okay, the Spinecrawler obviously is about to finish up. Kelazhur's for himself. Work a lead, but obviously that doesn't really matter. He has to win the game right now, no matter what. He's going to get the Queen, then he's just got to get himself the Spinecrawler. He's starting to target it down. The few drones fighting again. RagnaroK will GG, and Kelazhur will take himself to a 2-1 lead in this best of 5. I say just previously, so. All right, well, down a game in the top right-hand corner. Red Zerg player, RagnaroK. Up against, in the top left, our Yellow Terran, Kelazhur. Because they're one map away from getting it done. See if you can find it on Stargazers. Otherwise, at least he does have 2 shots right now. Does have 2 shots. On this Overlord, not much to see. Obviously, no proxy or anything on the map. There is the CC first on the other side from Kelazhur. So CC first on this in-base. And just using that in-base straight away, Terrans, they really benefit from it because you just get yourself a position where as the orbital morphs in, you can mine out the minerals, and then you just float on over. You don't have to mine out the minerals early and effectively. So it really is just a nice little base for the Terrans to take. You don't have to worry about anything early about this low ground walling off or whatever. Got depots at the front to wall off this high ground, and then you're up and a very small choke point into your main. It's very good defensively, so definitely a great way to set up for Terrans. And we've been seeing that used repeatedly as of late, so yeah, it's been very fun to continue watching. Get this underway. A couple orbitals are morphing in. Factory is about to complete, and the Reaper of Colors are going to start to move across the map. Just a little bit of action, see what he can do as he gets across the other side to see just what is going on. Overlord speed early from RagnaroK, so he actually wants to invest in that speed, give him some information as to what Kelazhur is up to, so really investing into just, again, information scouting. Another way to open as well. You know, for casting TvZ pretty much all day outside of a couple of Rain or Protoss games, we have seen a pretty good varying amount of openings right on both sides. Zerg's been doing a few things, Terrans have been doing a few things, definitely kept the early game interesting. Reaper comes out over to the right. Gonna see just a little bit of what's going on. Stimpack is setting up. And established here early. Viking Marine. Hellions all continuing to produce as they join up across the map. I'll just press the enter key on my keyboard, don't mind me. Hellions joining up, Reaper joining up. Just gonna start to send these units forward and seeing what might happen. We're gonna see a couple of those Hellions already roasting up a few Lings, so Lings taking some damage. Just gonna have the Queens there, pushing those Hellions back, keeping them out of trouble. 2 Hellions, 6 Lings, obviously not bad for RagnaroK at all. Anytime you're cutting down that Hellion count, you're pretty okay with things, so yeah, he'll be pretty okay with this early on, I imagine. The Queens waddling up and down. The Reaper and the Hellions just going to be coming forward, grabbing a Creep Tumor already. Viking to the side, just going to grab a Overlord kill as well. And gets in, a little bit of roasting to be done. I'm just going to see how Stimpack is finishing up. There's a couple of racks will be done soon. We do see backs 4 and 5, but this is all off 3cc, of course. So again, nice greedy opener from Kelazhur in that regard. As we got the Viking shooting away at Overlords. I mean, obviously Overlords have speed, but can still do pretty okay here for the most part. Hellions going to come around the side. Hellions continue through in a little bit. Creep spread will continue to be denied. Going to keep on knocking those creep tumors down. So far as the Hellions and the Reaper come back down the bottom. Hellions and Reaper just going to keep on chipping away at this. Then the Queens will come through. The Hellions are looking to try and make a play as well as the Hellions continue to fight a little bit. Just Just going to be seeing the Queens continue to fight, and the Lings are looking to maybe get a wraparound. Overlord over here still scouting. RagnaroK really picking up info throughout this, but I mean, Kelazhur is playing pretty regularly. I guess the only thing you can really spot for is just how aggressive he's maybe trying to be. Things continue forward a little bit more. Creep spread being denied at the moment. As obviously creep being denied gives you a bit of a better chance to fight as we push on forwards onto the creep here. And we do have meters on the way from RagnaroK, so it's not a great time for him to be taking a fight because he has to deal with the fact that he's making meters that aren't great in a straight up fight. Unless, I mean, if he can force the medevacs up into this, you know, units up into the medevacs, then he can chase those medevacs. That, of course, would be very good, but definitely no guarantee. As you just see our Marines, the Hellbats continue through. A little bit of transfusing being done here as RagnaroK's hatchery takes a little bit of extra damage. These few Banes continue to drop down. Queens and Ling is just getting roasted. Just gonna see the rest of the Ling Bane coming through. The hatchery will die. Our Marines will just lift up. They will evacuate away, and the hatchery gets to go down over in this corner. So yeah, we do kind of win out, right? Killing the hatchery. Resources lost. Pretty good for Kelazhur. Just sort of sad that he loses everything on the tail end. That does bring the resources lost back to RagnaroK a little bit. Still in Kelazhur's favor, but obviously helps out a little bit at the very least as Widow Mines and Marines back around the top side. Let's just see these Mutalisks also trying to figure out where exactly they want to be going to. Marines coming in there again, choking those Mutalisks away, pushing them back for the moment and making sure they can't get too much damage. That's a good thing so far for Kelazhur, stopping these Mutas from really getting too much done. Actually hits a Widow Mine shot as well, just to pick one off. Also a nice little victory. Anytime you can shave away at this Mutalisk count, it's going to be pretty good for you. Well, Marines continue to set up in the center, Widow Mines as well, pulling around, and again, Kelazhur just trying to keep an aggressive stance here. It's a lot of drones from RagnaroK. He's got the meters to try and keep him safe from drops and from Kelazhur being everywhere. See if Kelazhur can just find some fights, though. I mean, when you're stuck on Lingbane Muta, you can really get stuck in this mid-game for a while, and if Kelazhur can take advantage of that, maybe that's all he needs to get to a 3-1 victory in this match and look at himself in the winner bracket semi-finals of the Summer Championship here. We do have Link Muta on the counter-attack, though. That was not even a cancel, that was a kill on the command center. Great start from RagnaroK in this fight, as now Kelazhur would love to just shortcut off these Mutalisks. Can't quite get there in time, can't keep the speed up on the corner, and that does mean RagnaroK can pull away without losing much. I mean, just straight in, kills the CC, gets out. That's pretty decent trading. Making use of his Muta Ling force for the moment. Bane's going to be producing here as well, as we got our Marines again just edging onto creep. It's that little bit. Mine's actually going to get to go off here as well, taking down a Mutalisk. At this stage, I mean, Kelazhur still don't mind what he's doing. Do you feel like he needs to be just a little bit careful against some of these, you know, some of these potential fights like this, right? You got to be careful these Banes aren't just going to overwhelm you. I like that he's trying to keep position, but the creep spread is starting to be everywhere, and right now I feel like he really just wants to get a 4th base in position, and maybe you actually just start playing a bit of a slower game. It's Lingbane Muta. You know, Lingbane Muta itself isn't great if you play a bit of a slower game. I mean, I know he's about to max out, which is probably why he wants to try and get fights going. He's got an upgrade lead, but it's just so difficult because all the bases of the Zerg are so set back on the map that you can't really get to any of these bases as the Terran player, so if you can't get to any, don't try to push your luck elsewhere. Just kind of accept that, I would say. And just sort of, like I said, just kind of play a bit slow, because I feel like right now, again, where are you getting to? Maybe you can cancel this gold base. It just, I mean, maybe on top of this base too, but there's so much creep to get through, and I think that is the major issue. Widow Mine is left behind again, being cleaned up this time. Kelazhur needs to be careful as he comes up to the edge of creep. You can see that RagnaroK is at a moment's notice, just ready to pounce. He will jump if given the slightest of opportunities here. Is Mutas are going to come around looking for the Thors. Banelings keep on crashing through. Oh my goodness, that's a lot of units getting cleaned out right now. Kelazhur having a nightmare of a fight. Mutas just want to get involved on these medevacs. It's the only thing that's really missing. There's actually now the Mutas maybe want to be careful, trying to fight a Thor. They're really the only things left. Kind of a few crazy moments back and forth. Lings and Mutas still around on the right side. Got a few Marauders coming through as well. But wouldn't mind helping to clean this up, as Kelazhur might be able to grab himself a hold here at the tail end. More Lings going in, going after that missile turret, or the couple of turrets. The rest of our Lings still coming through. The Bayou unit still pressing forward. The Lings still being picked away at. Shoving this back for now. Alright, well, Kelazhur will hold. Losing some SCVs in the process, though. 3-3 upgrades still on the way up. Seeing those Mutas, Lings, the Hive, all being brought into play as well as we get down to the south. Going to knock down a Widow Mine at least. That will be our starting point for the moment, as now Mutas make their way around the left side. RagnaroK having this gold base feels really bad for Kelazhur, man. I mean, I always say it feels impossible for Kelazhur to get on top of some of these bases, but now, with that gold base in play for RagnaroK as well, and if you can't deny that, RagnaroK's money's going to be kind of through the roof, and he really can't afford to just keep throwing units a bit at Kelazhur. This is one of those games where I imagine we see Ultras once again from RagnaroK, and you just try and keep Kelazhur on kind of 4-ish bases. Right now, he's basically denying this base here to make it the case. This base will go down, that orbital will die. That's just the main base. No, okay, the main base is still there. I was wondering if it was the main relocated, but we're not at that kind of desperate stage just yet. We still hold a base to the left side. We do have a CC building up here to be a new one, a replacement for elsewhere. And then Kelazhur's trades are good. It's just going to be about keeping enough economy up, and keeping enough economy up in a game where RagnaroK is manning this much because he's got a gold. Very important right now then that this attack from Kelazhur can actually get something, and to be fair, there's a little bit of creep spread lacking on this gold base, so let's Kelazhur get in position. First Baneling's going to crash in. There's no split at the front from Kelazhur. Oh, the Widow Mine reaches over though, does grab a clump of Banelings, so there's something there at least. Marine's still fighting, and all the Lings actually get cleaned out, and Kelazhur going to come back down the bottom again. Fire Force coming through, going to knock this hatchery down. He's going to fight here. Lingbei Muta going to engage in once again. Widow Mine's actually doing a pretty decent job of this. Marines continue to trade, and the Muta's actually starting to drop here as well. Those few Marauders in the front, keeping the Lings at bay, and Kelazhur's going to be able to push this back. So actually is going to be able to push that Ling Muta force away. Just going to be seeing the 10,000 resource lost advantage now for Kelazhur. And again, that's good. That's good enough, but he needs extra bases. He needs to be on, I mean, at this point, he needs to be on all of his bases, basically. Maybe not straight away, but in the near future, he needs to have a road to those. Muta's Lings continue to stick back around. Ling's going to try and make a bit of a dart forward here, trying to get on top of that army. Doesn't find it. I'd love to see an Ultra Cavern, just an option, at least for RagnaroK. I don't think he needs it per se, but just have that option in case at some point you want it, and then at least you can move straight to it, right? Obviously, some of these fights will get better with 3-3 finishing from the Zerg Adrenal Glands as well. Mine gets another Mutilus. Good trade. Gonna drop the Hydrogen. I don't like that. Okay, I mean, okay, you're controlling the map pretty decently, so maybe Hydra's into Lurk is something you can get to. That just means you're still going to be on Lingbei Muta for a very long time, though. We're going to try an Overlord drop, but there's multiple turrets here. Well, honestly, less Lings get out than expected. I mean, what, like 10 Lings get out of 24? This is how RagnaroK's going to try and essentially buy himself time to go into Lurkers. Hydra Den completed. Obviously, maybe want to get some Hydra upgrades too if you want to just slowly build Hydras then into Lurkers. Otherwise, you could just go Lurker Den immediately and just work to that. Starts up the missile upgrade, so it's 100% his intention. Absolutely wants to utilize it. Kelazhur gets maxed out. You know, there we go. He's gotten this base back up. He's getting this base in the bottom corner. To me, that's kind of what he needed to be able to fight here, because again, Lingbei Muta is absolutely an army he can fight against. That's why I'm kind of wanting RagnaroK to kind of get past the Lingbei Muta, and that's why I feel like staying on Lingbei Muta longer to try and get to Lurkers is scary, because it feels like it gives Kelazhur a window, an opening at least. Well, that's going to be a mineral line that's just dead, though. This planetary fortress will die. Kelazhur, how good of a fight can he take on the tail end? He is going to find himself chasing down Banelings through the top side. The Mutas dive the main where there's multiple turrets, and they clean up, but at a little bit of a cost. And try and drop the Thor in towards this main to help out against the Mutas, push that back and remove this threat. Ling run by bottom left. This is a planetary, though. No SCVs to really repair, but for now it's enough to turn this around. Kelazhur kind of wants to go, man. 150 supply to 100 when it comes to the armies. This would be kind of his chance, and he probably knows it as well. The creep spread is still a major issue. It has been all game. It's not going to be able to get anywhere safely, really. Lurkers are getting their upgrades, so we're moving to that. And I think RagnaroK has probably done enough to give him the time to get to those Lurkers. So, well done to him in that regard. And this is just, again, counterattacks. Basically just doesn't want to take a big fight. He knows he does not against that much army supply. And he knows it only gets better for him in about a minute when these Lurkers have upgrades that make them very good too. Even just the range upgrade alone is going to do a lot, and as he breaks into the main, this is going to be chaos enough to guarantee Lurkers on the map before any big fight happens. And now Kelazhur sees Lurkers for the first time as he moves forwards here with this Bioforce. The Lurkers get burrowed, and that will make sure that Kelazhur is very aware of it, as he will try and cancel this hatch, but there's Lings coming too, and this Bioforce will not really do much. That Widow Mine catches a good clump of 14 Lings as it helps out, but not enough to keep the Bio units alive and kicking. Well, every Mutalisk has pretty much died. There's 2 remaining, so this was a pretty all-in dive into the main from RagnaroK, but again, it got the job done. All he had to do was buy himself enough time, right? Buy himself enough time to get to a, buy himself enough time to get to Lurkers, and I really do believe right now that that has been achieved. It seems a bit crazy, it seems a bit reckless, but there's just no setup at all from Kelazhur against Lurkers. If he had, if Kelazhur already had ghosts and stuff, I would hate this, because then it feels like you're buying time in too reckless of a way, and Kelazhur can instantly counterattack. But because Kelazhur doesn't have ghosts set up initially, and he's on his way to them now, but by this point in time, RagnaroK can fully remax, so there was no kind of fear of the initial counterattack or whatever, right? I think that makes the world of difference. Is do you clean up over there? Hustle attack no longer. And now RagnaroK pushing through the bottom side. Lurkers get burrowed! I'm getting excited because that first shot was looking dead center on the Bioforce. This one's going to be nasty as well. Ghost's going to try and find some snipes as the Banes are going to push them back though. Some Banes going to hit this mineral line. Will we have enough for the planetary with reinforcing Banes? Yes, we will. Because their supply is dropping heavily right now. As the Lurkers will still just sit down here, and a few of those Lurker shots coming off to push the Ghosts backward. Push them away up that left side. Lurkers on Burrow are going to go back over through the bottom and just regroup all together. Kelazhur's economy is just not there to rebuild off the back of this, and that seems to be something RagnaroK is aware of, because he's not rushing into more fights, right? He falls back a bit, then he gets himself the units, then he goes again. He knows the position he's in. He knows the game he's been playing. And I think he knows that this game is pretty much his. So RagnaroK looking good as, okay, well, 37 Widow Mine kill. Okay, I mean, that's one way to maybe give Kelazhur another chance. But obviously, I mean, Kelazhur needs so much still. Resource loss, like I said, it was a reckless game from RagnaroK. He gave away a lot of units, but that doesn't matter when the income graph looks like this. And that would be different on a map like Waterfall or like an Inside and Out where there's less bases, perhaps, because specifically not this gold. Because actually, imagine that these bases were mined out, or they're pretty much mined out, and this gold never mined. And Kelazhur only really needed to trade out for one more army. He could have played a lot more defensively. The problem was he knew altogether that RagnaroK just had too much, and he had too much mining still. So Kelazhur had to come forward and take some of these worst fights toward the end. And like I say, RagnaroK played around this knowledge as well, knowing this gold base was online mining for him. As this might just be GG's, I was going to say, Banelings are rolling into Ghosts. That's probably not going to be good. Kelazhur's already kind of low on supply. And we are going to go to all 5 games in this best of 5 series, guys. All 5 maps will be seen right here. And we'll see what this 5th map is going to be in just a few moments' time. We'll get this up, get this running, see what the heck is going to happen. Bottom left side, our red Zerg player. This is RagnaroK. Up against the top right yellow Terran Kelazhur. As we have gotten to go the distance here, this best of 5 series. Let's find out. This is, like I say, it's another decent map for the Zerg to play a longer game on, so gotta be a little concerned straight away for Kelazhur in that regard, right? You know, you gotta be a little worried that that could be slightly problematic for sure. Something that you gotta respect. RagnaroK's Overload. Following it across the map. It is a Reaper opening, so once the Reaper pops, we can follow that across the map, and you guys can have some exciting early game observing. I know you guys are thrilled and excited for it, I can already tell. Full first out of RagnaroK, though, so that is worth mentioning. Actually, the SCV Scout will tell Kelazhur to pull first, so we might not even see the Reaper getting across the map. The Reaper might just stay back at home, which would probably make a good amount of sense. Things coming through, and you go after that SCV. And SCV will go down. You know it's a pull first. You know, Kala has this info. This Reaper. Still going to come across the map because he's building the Marines, right? So he has the double Marine just in case he needs the double Marine. So actually going to be pretty safe here for the most part. There is doing decently. This is 8 lings from RagnaroK, by the way. Like, kind of wild, though, making 8 lings. It's definitely just going to be a bit of a weaker setup than what you might initially expect to see, but nothing too wild. It's all good. It's just going to see our Reaper. Gonna be chased down by lings again. Uh-oh, Reaper-o. Oh! Yeah, well, the Queen's on its way. Reaper, quick! No! It was a cool move for a moment or two. It was a cool move, but unfortunately, it lacked any follow-up plan. I like this as well. I mean, you see a good amount of lings, and you just know ling speed's on its way at the very least, so just pulls into the main base, waits for his Hellions, very conserved from Kelazhur, takes a couple SCVs and a mule to the high ground, just in case RagnaroK comes hunting for workers here. In this case, obviously, it doesn't benefit him, but I can appreciate the choice just being, again, like I say, a little bit safe, just trying to make sure you're not going to be losing SCVs you don't necessarily need to. Just respecting that RagnaroK had enough to potentially come across and get some damage done. Oh, look at what Kelazhur's going for. Marauder, Viking. We are going to see our Marauder Hellbat setup, aren't we? That's one that has been so popular as of late. People cracking it out all of the time. Viking will be able to push back Overlord Vision. I mean, there's not any really close to the main, so there's not really any to kind of spot here initially. And yeah, I mean, if you can still find an Overlord too that can slow RagnaroK down, get him supply blocked, and maybe give you a little bit of a chance. Obviously, you just want to try and get across the map without this being seen as well, but that Baneling nest is well timed from RagnaroK. I feel like it's going to give him at least a chance to have Banelings at some point of this defense. It might not be for the very start, but then if you just run back to the Queens a bit, get some Banes online, then you can still pretty much be okay. I mean, Bane nest 20 seconds away, just a bit less than the Armory. Medevac is just now coming across the map, booster already used. I think the Bane nest is going to be pretty much okay here. Again, some extra Lings going. A lot of this depends on Queens being in the right places as well. Right now, they're kind of spread out everywhere. You might want to actually bring the other Queens all up together as the Hellbalions run forward. The Marauders want to try and get a Concussive Shell on one of these Queens already. Wait, did we not get... We do have Concussive Shells. I was going to say, that Queen felt like it was steaming away. Queens are so fast on creep. Holy crap. Well, we're just going to go up this ramp. Like I said, the Banes are going to be ready for some part of this, and that's important because it should give you, at least at some point, a cleanup. As here are the Banelings. No, Kelazhur loses the Medevac. He loses a lot of the Hellbats. I mean, he is killing a decent amount of Queens, but I want to say that I think this is okay. It's never going to get out of hand because the Hellbats are gone now. It's going to be absolutely okay for RagnaroK. Resources lost pretty even across the board. RagnaroK will work a lead coming out of this. Kelazhur, obviously a delayed CC because he's pretty aggressive. I mean, obviously the Queen count got shut down a little bit, but I think this is very good for RagnaroK. Really dies without too much damage taken. Yeah, definitely good for RagnaroK, isn't it? Trading evenly is good against a Terran player, and he's got the worker advantage to come off the back of it with as well. The income lead is his. It would be different if it was like a 3cc, then it probably would have been okay for Kelazhur, but this is a pretty committed Hellbat attack when you've got the Marauders and stuff, and he was just not able to get enough off of it, and it does feel as though now RagnaroK is looking at a lead here in Game 5 of this series. Is it not even to be at even supply and army? The problem is, army supply doesn't matter. It's the worker count, and it's the fact that RagnaroK is currently mining more and can now start mining a lot more. Because he's just cleaned out enough army, because he cleaned that out and kept enough army alive, he can go straight back to droning. So he establishes this continued income advantage. And usually, it's okay for the Zerg to have an income advantage because you trade well enough to make up for it as the Terran player. The problem here is obviously he just didn't trade well enough, and there's not really many ways for him to start trading better. And a lot of the things that he's doing, for example, right, he's already lost 8 Hellbats, and he's got 6 more Hellions on the map. Well, this is actually really expensive, because this means that these barracks were super delayed. So all of his bio play is super delayed, because he was so Hellion heavy in this game as well. So RagnaroK's just going to hit his mid-game in a much more comfortable position than Kelazhur will. Yeah, you know, you look at it overall, like, upgrades are pretty even, like, say, army supply is kind of even. It's just, RagnaroK will keep getting these moments where that income is in his favor, and Kelazhur just doesn't really have options for a long time to start trading to make it so that being behind in income is okay. I think that's the real issue. Hellions getting a few Zerglings, a hatchery on this bottom side. Continues to build, a couple of Lings and Queens can work their way through some rocks. And the Hellions looking to, again, chip through that hatchery for just a few moments. Spike completes, Hamita's on the way. Looks like RagnaroK wants to play a similar setup to last time. Just has the money, so he takes base, bottom right and top left, so will, if unpunished, goes to 6 bases straight away. As the Lings looking for the surround, they get a couple of the Hellions, not all 6 at least. Kelazhur starts to drop. Time for him to start denying a base at least, maybe even some creep spread, right? These are things he needs to do if he wants to be in a playable position in this game, otherwise he is going to be in some pretty serious trouble. Marines will continue to unload, now load back up. And a hatchery of RagnaroK will continue to set up in the upper left-hand side. Just want to try and come in. A few Marines get in there, you just get turned around. Things get us around, knock down the rocks. Banelings coming through, and just going to start looking for the Lings and the Mutas. Jump on top of this set of rocks right now and try and make something of this. Thing is, I don't even feel like RagnaroK needs to do anything just yet, right? You can always see he's comfortable, Lingbane muted, but going into Infestation Pit, he feels like he can easily afford to get a Hive while doing it. He's going to use the mutas to poke around and prod around a bit. He's going to stick on Lingbane muted, but you'll have the Hive way faster, so Adrenal way faster, Ultra's way faster. He's going to have creep in front of a lot of bases, 98 drones. This game already feels a little bit out of hand for Kelazhur. That Hellbat attack initially just did not do enough, and you're really just seeing the knock-on effect of that now. And if Kelazhur sits back and RagnaroK runs in and takes too many bad trades, Kelazhur can maybe counter and get a base or two as well, then absolutely this game can turn around. But as of right now, it feels like RagnaroK is absolutely in the driver's seat of this game, number 5. As he morphs an extra Banelings, I imagine he's going to maybe wait for 2-2 to go, but the thing is, he just needs to slam into this base and knock down this planetary. And if he can keep the 4th base from coming up as Kelazhur, then he is in a golden position. Just needs to not lose too much to a mine so that this fight is somewhat okay for him. This Widow Mine gets a huge amount of lings, to be fair, but he's going to come through. Actually only gets 2 SCVs, so kind of expensive for RagnaroK here to not actually kill workers. Probably still okay, but yeah, expected him to... really expected him to be able to get some more workers there. Was surprised when only 2 died. It's a little bit of a shocker, I suppose, as Marines continue through with the Hellbat. And we're actually going to see the Muta Bane going to come back at it again, try and roll up this round towards those units. Doesn't quite get the chance just yet. Thing is, he's still just expanding right. Base in the front, base in the bottom right. All of that continuing through as well. Lingbane Muta just coming online here, as we do have a Spore, a Spine over the far left. A little bit of bio comes through, gets a couple of Zerglings also. Just going to have this army of RagnaroK repositioning around. Just going to go jump to the top left, get rid of these bio units, get rid of the medevac. And again, looks as though RagnaroK is in full control of the last game of our last series today. Muta goes for a run at the Marine medevac force. In we go. Widow Mine lies in wait for the moment. Rest of the bio up around the top. Gonna grab a Zergling or 2. RagnaroK, moments like this is what he's hoping for, really, but again, doesn't really get too much. You can see Kelazhur, last few minutes, it was even resources at 2.8k each. Now it's 4.8k to, well, let's see how this fight goes, to about 5.2k to 10.7, so 5.5k difference. Again, that's great, if this isn't the case. That's the problem, RagnaroK is mining so much, and Kelazhur, I mean, this is really it. I think Kelazhur is, you know, RagnaroK's fine to have Kelazhur on 4 bases, but he just wants to deny the 5th. You deny the 5th, there is no way that Kelazhur can mine enough to realistically stay in this game. Doesn't matter how well he trades. All the upgrades coming in. I like that actually RagnaroK went to Lurkers this game because he could. This game he was absolutely safe enough to get there, and maybe right now is the one moment where it's like, uh-oh, can we? He doesn't have a lot of Banelings, and he has money to morph more Banelings. That should make him safe enough as he loses a top left base, but yeah, RagnaroK, yes, okay, Kelazhur's going to get a 5th. Maybe that's even okay as well, because quite frankly, as Kelazhur gets a 5th base, and he gets kill some drones off, that's nice. Starts to hurt this economy. As Kelazhur gets a 5th, you're going to start coming at him with Lurkers and stuff, and, well, again, preparation for Kelazhur there. Ghost Academy's up, but there's no ghosts on the way. Kind of needs to start getting some ghosts going, as I guess we're still a few moments away from Lurkers. I mean, we're just going into everything. Greatest Fire starts as well. RagnaroK just going to give himself pretty much every opportunity he can in this. Lings. Dane's coming up the top. Widow Mine's doing pretty good. Honestly, pretty nasty fight from RagnaroK. He's going to blow up the planetary, though. And again, just a step in the right direction. Kelazhur needs to keep replacing this. And he has no 5th CC ready to go. You know, it's not like this is being denied. And he's just going to lift up a base and relocate it. Get back to mining pretty much straight away. Nuh-uh. Not a chance. Lingbane will continue forward. In we go. Just going to be seeing these units continue to chase down these Marines. The Widow Mine there just got burrowed. Blows up for a little bit of Lingbane as well. Up to the top, just going to be seeing the Marines, the Thors, continuing around as we do launch ourselves in over here. Widow Mines again. Massive kills. 6, 8, 21. I knew one of them had a big kill count on it. I was like, 6 and 8, that didn't look like 14 kills. Yeah, 21. So 35 units just went down. And that's where Kelazhur is finding great trades. You know, 10k resource loss difference. It's just, again, maybe not good enough. Oh my goodness. I mean, that was just bad control out of RagnaroK, no doubt. 22 kill Widowmine. He saw that one coming from a mile away and he just did nothing about it. So that one kind of on RagnaroK. That one will hang over his shoulders a little bit as Bane goes back through the center. Bio over here with some ghosts, some Thors. Hitting this hatchery, trying to knock it down. Keep this base from getting online. That's the brand new CC that you got to be a little careful about here. Widowmine doesn't get a chance to fight. Now goes off on the Overseer. The problem is if you just have... Yeah, you kill the 4th, right? Because now the 5th base has to be the 4th base. And you still can't get to the economy you're looking for. RagnaroK doesn't have a bank because he's continuing to just trade out his units. But I also love what he's doing because he's already on his way to Broodlords. He's getting an army that realistically there's no good way for Kelazhur to be able to fight. I think RagnaroK just knows he's controlled this game from the start. He keeps playing it, gets a Thor kill here. Kelazhur just busy elsewhere. Doesn't save that despite the medevacs being overhead. And yeah, it looks as though Kelazhur is going to, unfortunately, after a hard-fought series, probably drop down to the lower bracket. Never say never, I suppose. This army supply, kind of a doom push, 40 army supply lead for Kelazhur. This is where RagnaroK just wants to throw everything he can at Kelazhur all at once. The Broodlords should be able to do a lot of the tanking here initially as well. Banelings will be able to close the distance. In we go as these Marines getting blown up. The Ghosts in the back take a Widowmine shot to the face. And yeah, RagnaroK just wipes the army supply lead of Kelazhur. Now he's getting some lurkers out just to help hold a couple positions. Kela is over here trying to push the bottom right, but I just can't imagine that is ever realistically going to be enough. And there's the Bio, the Ghosts, the Mines. That's going to come around here. A couple creep teamers getting knocked down immediately. Widowmines will continue to burrow up in this. This really should just be it, right? I mean, do not really have anything going your way anymore. There's nothing really left to add. Queen's getting blown up. Hatchery is dead. Yeah, okay. I mean, Kelazhur is making some progress. I mean, RagnaroK just has to rebuild and keep trading, right? RagnaroK and Kelazhur both don't really have like a bank in play. Unless the medevacs come through. Lifting up over here now, going up the right-hand side. Healing's going to dive into the top. Planetary Fortress will take a few nibbles. Nothing major. And we actually might get ourselves a 5th CC. I've been screaming about it, right? Maybe this is where the tide changes. 14k resource difference. RagnaroK has to rebuild this base as well. 88 drones. The thing is, he's pushing with Broodlords. Which generally isn't a good sign. These defensive mines that have been fantastic so far will see their final fight. Tanks don't really help out against these Broodlings either, right? They're just going to be causing friendly fire if anything. As now, we seem to have cleaned out enough splash damage that the Banes can just roll in. So the Ghosts now have to fight against these Banelings, and that is not going to be pretty. Yep, I mean, it's just logical, right? The Broods get rid of the splash damage. The Banelings roll in after. And just as we're starting to talk about Kelazhur maybe having the CCs that he needs to get an economy online, RagnaroK already has just the killing move basically. These Ghosts are just splitting away forever, which is why the Banelings didn't commit yet. Now the Bane's like, cool, we'll just take a Planetary and some SCVs. We can leave the Ghosts alive, because you're never going to rebuild off this. GG for Kelazhur, and it is going to be RagnaroK finding himself Game 5 of this best of 5. GG's. Well played.